Welcome to the final for the Weymuller Open 2024. Really exciting matchup here between two young Egyptians. Farida Mohamed, you see now on the right of your screen, taking on Fayrouz Aboelkheir. It's 5 years between the two players. On the left, in the light green dress, we see Fayrouz. She's she's unseeded in this event. She's only 17 years old. She's had a fantastic run through here to the final, getting through 13-11 yesterday against Salmahani. She managed to back up her win against the Egyptian from TOC last week, so clearly in some excellent form. Currently ranked 29 in the world, currently ranked 35 in the world, has been as high as 29, but that's surely going to climb after reaching the quarterfinals last week at the Tournament of Champions and also reaching the final or potentially winning here in Brooklyn this evening. Another impressive stat about this young 17-year-old is that she's managed to convert all 3 finals that she's been in into titles, so it'll be very interesting to see if she's manages to continue that here tonight. And there we see the stats for Farida Mohamed, currently sitting at world ranked 18, has been up as high as 14. She was playing for Columbia University, so she is based here in New York. She's actually not competing for them anymore. She's focusing on her pro career now. Mohamed's 22 years old. Been on a tour for a good while now. Pretty steady climb for her. Does a lot of work with her older sister Habiba Mohamed, who also lives in New York City. Does some coaching at Open Squash. And also works with Amr Khalifa, who's down at the 5-day location for Open Squash. So she's no stranger to New York City. Bit of a home crowd here for her potentially. She had a fantastic result yesterday against Olivia Weaver, the #1 seed for this event. Really took control of that match and beat Weaver in just 25 minutes, which is something that no one's been able to do for quite some time, actually. So really impressive stuff from Farida Mohamed. And joining me for this entertaining final is my fellow Canadian squash player and friend, Danielle Letourneau.
Good evening, Nicole. Definitely excited for this match. Both very similar players. I'd say the only real difference is the amount of pace that Farida Mohamed injects onto the ball using her kills, but they both really like to attack, step up the tee, hunt that volley once they've moved someone to the front. So I think it's really going to be a matter of who's able to execute a bit better today. It's obviously might be a little bit tougher. Fayrouz Aboelkheir has one extra match as she was not as high of a seed in this tournament. So she had a match against Jess Turnbull, and then she had an epic semifinal against Salmahani, as you mentioned, 67 minutes of play, finishing fairly late in the afternoon yesterday. So luckily she's young. We'll see if she's recovered.
Yeah, exactly. She does have youth on her side. 17 years old. Jeez. Can you remember what level you were playing when you were 17?
Definitely
did you
not
play
this
any
level.
pro tournaments? I didn't know
No.
what the PSA was.
Yeah, it's impressive. You see a lot of juniors coming up through Egypt. Amina Orfi being another one, and getting that match play experience and that confidence. And that stat that you threw out earlier about Fayrouz having a 100% win record in finals is pretty incredible. Obviously, this is her biggest final to date, so it's a whole different story, whole other task. But the way she held her composure yesterday against Salmahani was very impressive. Most of the games either ending 11-9 or going to extra points, and she really stayed strong, didn't make those mistakes. And it's all about making playing good squash at the big points.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though Aboelkheir beat Hani last week, she still played with a bit of an underdog mentality. She didn't choke in those moments, like you said, and unfortunately for Hani, she did. Even though she's the more experienced player, she didn't handle that situation as well.
Yeah, it's tough when you're being chased, that's for sure. Well, bright colors today. For Mohamed in the neon yellow.
Well, Mohamed kicking us off here. Like you said, yellow versus yellow. Fortunately, they're different enough that the camera can distinguish between them. And like you said, Danielle, it's going to be quick fire stuff here, isn't it? No settling into the match. It's going to be really, really sharp rallies from the get-go.
Well, surprising error there from Mohamed. She can hit gold, and then she can also make tons of mistakes. Yesterday, she didn't make any, almost none. But not a great start so far. So one thing I was looking up, talking about Fayrouz Aboelkheir's ranking, if you look at the PSA Squash 4 sites, she will be moving into the top 20 next week, regardless of the result here today. So very encouraging, big jump for the youngster.
That's a massive jump, being mid-30s right now, up to the top 20. It's the benefit of the weekly ranking systems. If you have a couple good tournaments in a month, you can make a big jump now. It's huge.
Yeah, it's definitely nice because you see the benefit of good squash and you have that chance to jump up, get better draws, better situations. Because before you'd have to wait the whole month, and by that point you could have tournaments close and you don't feel that benefit, and it's a very delayed response. Well, she's not missing that one. Maybe starting to relax a little bit. What a shot, half volley. Getting low. Just pushing into that front left corner. That's a danger when you miss your length, like Aboelkheir did there. Anything around the middle, Mohamed is so good at attacking it in short, so severe.
Oh, that was outrageous. Very gutsy going back into the same corner. The quality was incredible as well. Well, Danielle, I don't think we've seen a rally over 5 shots. And honestly, we might not for quite some time.
No, they definitely have no interest playing to the back of the court. I do feel eventually as the match gets going, it becomes easy to anticipate forward if both of them are just looking to attack nonstop. And it is good to try and push one more back just to keep your opponent honest on the tee, but very quick fire stuff so far.
Well, Andrea Santamaria has done her homework. She knows that she doesn't want to engage. with these players, and she certainly doesn't want the players talking back too much. But Danielle, before we got on comms and before we were live, we were talking a little bit about the head-to-heads. And these two have played once before, and I actually witnessed most of it in Rhode Island in person. And it was a very fiery affair, I will tell you that. They really needed a strong ref. Unfortunately, they did not. And it wasn't the most pleasant of matches, so I'm really hoping that Andrea Santamaria can keep a lid on this one, because we're already starting to see some signs of things, emotions bubbling over a little bit as we get into the business end.
Yeah, well, she is very good at keeping players in check, but the difficulty is if you have two players who are trying to do the same sort of movements, you end up in this gray zone where if someone's doing something wrong and the other person's not, it's easy to kind of pick out who's in the wrong and make an easier decision. But when both players can have these moments, it makes it a lot more difficult as a referee. And we did see a little bit yesterday in the match between Aboelkheir and Haney that front left corner became an area of trouble, especially for Haney. And that's where most of the decisions were made. And seeing a few more now tonight. But Mohamed, after a very poor start, really starting to find her targets, exploiting some short, loose shots from Aboelkheir, now has 2 game balls. One saved for Aboelkheir.
Well, you have to say both of these players, Danielle, they're very set in their ways. They know how they want to structure rallies. You can see the intent with Farida Mohamed's return of serve there even. She knows exactly where that next shot's going to go. And she prepares herself so early for it.
It was a better rally. You can tell Aboelkheir is really trying to push Mohamed back off the tee. Her length has just not been good enough today so far. Well, another decision, but not in favor of Aboelkheir, giving Mohamed a 12-10 win in this first game.
Yeah, a few decisions as we expected. Well, 12-10, only 8 minutes in duration though. Just a couple of rallies that were over the 10 shot mark. Really quick fire stuff from both of these young Egyptian players. But it's Mohamed that takes first blood and leads 1 game to love.
Well, there we see the breakdown of points. Aboelkheir getting to a strong start, but then Farida Mohamed really settled down, took out those errors, and made it a lot more difficult for the youngster to get points.
Well, Mohamed kicking us off here. She's got the 1-game-to-love lead. Wow, look at her body language. She's absolutely flying back to the tee after she hits her shot.
Yeah, definitely very explosive. She's a confidence player, and you can tell just by that, the movement and also between points that she's trying to build upon it, rush Aboelkheir a little bit, not let her into this match.
Yeah, you do wonder as well, Danielle, you mentioned this before, what sort of a hangover effect there might be for Aboelkheir having come through a marathon match yesterday. Obviously, she's young, so the physical toll might not be so big, but the mental toll that it takes coming back from 2-1 down, saving a couple match balls as well in the fourth game, takes a lot of resolve to get through that.
Yeah, definitely very tiring to do that, but it is a very different sort of match because it's so quick fire. It's very random, a lot less rhythm than her other matches. It always can be a matchup of styles and one that might suit her a little less, because she's the one who I feel generally likes to initiate the attacks and break someone else's rhythm. But when someone breaks your rhythm, it's very uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to someone doing it as well as you can.
Yeah, it's a tactic which can be difficult to execute, but if done right is pretty good if you can beat someone at their own game, in a sense, against these attacking players. If you just try and push the ball around, you're giving them more opportunities to hit winners against you. So being the first one to initiate, as long as you're smart about it, not trying to create something out of nowhere or go for reverse boasts or nicks from anywhere on the court, but being positive and perhaps just clinical, you could say, with your attacks.
Yeah, it's just
be a good way to
that's
unsettle
better.
your
Nice
opponent.
use of the hold. Sorry for the interruption. I meant I was just building upon what you were saying, and she is rushing and trying to probably be a bit too aggressive without actually having the purpose. You have to wait for the better opportunity. Farida Mohamed's moving while she's pushing up on the tee. She's moving forward, looking for those balls. And that hold that she played at the very beginning of that rally was so effective. But then after she hit one deep, she went short again, and just building upon it a few more times, making Mohamed second guess her movement, I think is what Aboelkheir needs to do.
Yeah, and she needs to do it quickly because this is starting to run away from her a little bit now. Mohamed's taking no prisoners here in Brooklyn tonight.
Some Aboelkheir fans in the crowd, probably trying to encourage her to get into this match. Yeah, casual cross court. It's going to be punished.
Oh, wow. Well, Mohamed's got 7 game balls. Take a very convincing 2-love lead now. I feel, Danielle, that first game was crucial for Mohamed, just to perhaps take the sting out of the younger Egyptian a little bit, knock her confidence slightly.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we'll see if she has a response in this third game as Mohamed takes that second one, 11-4.
Wow, well, just 6 minutes for that second. Again, short, sharp rallies. And it's Mohamed that leads 2-0 after just 16 minutes of play.
Mohamed really charging through that game very quickly. Aboelkheir not getting 2 points in a row, very sporadic. Mohamed's looking pretty unstoppable at the moment. It's definitely interesting to see what Aboelkheir will do in this third game. This is where that experience and match toughness, she's already very tough mentally, as we've seen in other matches, but being able to back it up 2 days in a row, I feel, is the big difference between good players and great players who can consistently get themselves up and find solutions on the fly. And so far, I feel Aboelkheir hasn't really been changing anything in her game.
No, and obviously we're talking about the match last night, the really tough semi-final, but she also had a tussle with Sarah Jane Perry the night before in the quarterfinals, and I think that was mentally, it was 4 games, but it was close and mentally very taxing, I believe. So to remember that when you get to the final, not all roads to the final are equal, and it's usually the person, like you said, who's probably had a little bit less court time, less stressful matches. Obviously, Aboelkheir's played one more match than Mohamed. And all sorts of things like sleep and recovery play into it as well. And she just looks a bit flat, doesn't she? Aboelkheir's not quite getting her targets.
No, you can see that there's intention. She, even with the variety of serves, in that second point, she threw in a body serve, she threw in a lob. So there is intention to switch things up, but it is that physical flatness and ability to execute, which I think we're not seeing today. A better use of height, finally pushing Farida Mohamed into the back corner. I think that's probably maybe her second deep shot of the match that's made it all the way back to the glass, and she was rewarded for it.
Yeah, Aboelkheir hasn't been able to expose Mohamed's movement very much. Sometimes what we see when Mohamed is trying to do the same thing, like we said, she lives by the sword, dies by the sword. She tends to anticipate quite a bit. Like we see there, she's really hedging over to the right side, but if you can get her moving and make her have to be honest with her movement as well, rather than, anticipating so heavily, then you can start to see a lot of reward.
Yeah, there you can see she watched the ball. But it was all set up with that serve, burying Mohamed in the back corner. Beautiful. And just when we thought about counting her out, we are now tied again, 5-all in this third game.
Well, you can tell that the crowd wants to see this go longer than 25 or 30 minutes. They're getting behind the younger Egyptian. And unfortunately for Mohamed, this is the other side of the coin. If you can start to break her confidence a little bit, she is error prone.
Yeah, you wonder if it's a confidence issue or if she relaxed a little bit thinking she has it in the bag. And this would be her biggest title to date as well. And when you get that excitement, it's easy to get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with a 5-1 lead in the third, being up 2-love, you would most people would bet on you to run away with that. But now, from having been 5-1 up, she's actually 8-5 down. This is really impressive from Fayrouz Aboelkheir. She's playing like she's got nothing to lose, which at this point, she doesn't. That was really important to point for Mohamed, wasn't it?
Yeah, another big one coming up. Sneaking out, she read it, or at least it was a lucky guess, but the ball just coming a little bit too close to her body there. This is better, that height that she's using on the front wall. Mohamed can't just rush up to the front of the court. She's being pushed back. You see that frustration sinking in.
Yeah, it's been clever play from Aboelkheir in this third game. And seemingly from out of nowhere, she's got herself 3 game balls to get herself back into this final.
And no let to finish that third game. Mohamed's fuming, thinking she could play that straight. But we have a match on our hands. 2-1 for Mohamed.
Well, we thought that there might be a lot of calls, which, to be fair, there has not been a great deal of interference, which has been good to see. But Fayrouz Aboelkheir, incredible fight back from her, being 5-1 down, looking kind of down and out, manages to take that third game 11-7. And she's making her way back into this final here in Brooklyn.
have it, that massive point swing. Mohamed up 5-2. And then just losing her head, making mistakes, but credit to Aboelkheir, who adjusted, pushed the ball deeper, gave herself opportunities, bought herself time, not allowing her movement to be exposed the way it was in the first 2 games. Well, we saw Aboelkheir do it yesterday. She came back from 2-love down. Do you think she can do it again?
I mean, I'm not going to write her off because I think she has the squash to do it.
Your miss there.
And I think that if she can find the right tactics, if she can find her length against Mohamed, keep varying that height, like you've said before, Danielle. See there, she's getting more opportunities now. Needs to keep it away from Mohamed's strike zone. She's so dangerous around that shoulder to hip height area, isn't she? Around the middle of the court. So using that lift like we're seeing there.
Yeah, it's missing it there.
But it is good to see a very tactical battle, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of thought that's going into every shot these players are hitting. It's the purpose with every shot.
Agreed, yeah. You see a lot of matches where they could be long, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the quality of hitting is amazing, or it's just pretty much a battle of bodies who can outlast the other. But it's very dynamic. They're both very aware of the other person's positioning and exploiting it. Oh, smart play. Sensing Aboelkheir coming up behind her.
Well, Danielle, you can certainly tell who the crowd is behind. I'm not sure if that's because Aboelkheir is a home favorite now, or if it's simply because this crowd wants to see this match go 5 games, which I'm going to assume that's what they want. And unfortunately for Mohamed, she's not going to do herself any favors with the sort of demeanor.
Yeah, I imagine Aboelkheir gained quite a few fans after her impressive performance at the Tournament of Champions. It was very enjoyable to watch all the way through. And she does have a bit of a calmer demeanor than Mohamed. To pump herself up, but she does tend to play within herself and stay focused on what the task is instead of getting the emotions too far ahead of herself.
Yeah, now you can see Mohamed's focus is going outside the court. We've seen a couple of looks from her out the back of the glass, which is not a good sign generally.
It is understandable. Yesterday, she cruised through her match with Olivia Weaver. There weren't many contesting rallies in that one for her, and the same was in the first two games here against Aboelkheir. So it's easy to expect that things are just going to continue the way they have been, and you're just going to be able to cruise on through. And when you have someone come up and start challenging you, it's when you start panicking because you haven't had that happen in a while.
Well, things are getting edgy now. Starting to see more contact, more interference.
Let's see some fire from Mohamed. Really trying to close this out in 4.
Well, it was quite the movement from Mohamed, screeching in there, which I'm Mohamed's height, and I certainly cannot do that sort of movement into the front corners. Certainly something she'll have learned from a young age. What's also impressive is she managed to hit a very quality shot off of it as well. Just pulling away
good
now.
Response from Mohamed. Yeah, very impressive response. But she might be down and out, losing that momentum. But she's really tidied things up in the back end of this game and now has 4 match balls to take her first $50,000 event title here in New York.
Well, one saved. Saw Aboelkheir save some match balls yesterday against Hani. Can she do it again?
All right, again within 2. No let given. Tense times. Oh, there's the air. Aboelkheir. Free Mohamed. Letting out all of that emotion.
What a massive, massive result for Farida Mohamed. Defeating the younger Egyptian and claiming her biggest title to date. 35 minutes for that 3-1. 12-10, 11-4, 7-11, 11-8. Very intense, fiery stuff from both players. We have to say it was Farida Mohamed who really deserved this title and this match tonight. Good to see Mohamed come through with a similar brand of squash that she played yesterday against Olivia Weaver.
definitely an opportunity we can expand the corporate sponsorship over time, but just wanted to give them a big round of applause.
Well, there you have it. Your Weymuller Open 2024 champion, Farida Mohamed, taking down compatriot Fayrouz Aboelkheir in 4 games. Thank you for joining us tonight, and please stay tuned for the trophy presentation.
Thanks, Danielle. Have a good night, everyone.
Blackfield say something about the Weymuller committee, but they do such an awesome job, and this tournament was so well run. And then mostly just like the atmosphere here is so great. I hope the players all love being part of it, and it's why they come back. But I think it's just so neat that we have this tradition with this club, and it's really thanks to all of you guys for making it happen. So thank you, and I think we'll do the awards.